This is Meltdown Live, presented by MyBookie.ag. Use code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag for double your initial deposit. You sign on to make a deposit, they double it with code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag.
Welcome to the Meltdown. I am Tim Melton. We are here in the Culver studio on this Monday edition of the show. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, so you never miss when we go live every day, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. Once again, thank you for spending your time here with us in Meltdonia. Joining me here in the Culver studio today is not EG, because EG is on the plains covering Pro Day there in Auburn, so she will be back with us tomorrow here on the show. Lots to get into, though, with my boy Tyler Lionel Johns. Tyler, how you doing after the weekend that was?
I'm good. I got to see a couple different movies. None of them were great,
Oh,
but they were pretty decent.
so you did not go to the Hans Zimmer show?
I did not. I was unable to make that one, and I
Okay.
had to get a refund last second.
That makes me feel better, because I'm happier that you missed it compared to you saw it and didn't
I
like
was
it.
disappointed. Yeah,
Because I was like, whoa, I know you were going to go see that one and you didn't like it. That's like a Tyler Central experience.
no.
Okay, good.
I missed that one.
Good.
I'm sure I would very much enjoy what you said was Dune 2.5.
Oh man, yeah. Really, really, really was. But that's the best thing I've seen all year long. There's been so much trash out there. Tyler, I mean, are we on the same page that 2025 has been trash so far? Are we on the same page that that's the case?
Hadn't been great. Has not been great. We definitely had a lot bigger hits so far in 2024 up to this point in the year. And even I would say even the bad movies were better at this point in the year last year.
It's rough sledding right now for the box office. We'll get into sort of the ripple effect of how that is having an impact here locally, with one theater that has shut down here that's a stone's throw away from where we are currently. But it's kind of depressing. An era may be fading due to the lack of quality things to watch at the theater. And I love going to the theater. Tyler probably at this point is like, does he really? And I've spent decades going to the theater. I love it. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do, but it's tough to go and watch it die around me. And that's what's happening right now. I can't force myself to go show up and be the only one in the theater watching slop. Like, there's a big problem right now. I was going through and looking at some of the showtimes for Snow White and just how many empty seats there were. I mean, we're in spring break here in our area. A lot of people are off. We actually have the door to the studio open today because we're the only two up here. We're running the ship up here. And spring break has a lot of people out, a lot of people looking for things to do with the kids, and the lack of tickets sold to this movie. And they're in the biggest theaters, the biggest auditoriums in these theaters, and they're just not packing in people. I mean, you see maybe there's 4 people going to this and the rest of it's empty, or maybe there's, 2 people in this screening. The one tonight for like 7 o'clock, like 6:30, these main screenings, you go to dinner, go to the movie, empty, completely empty, not a single ticket sold. And that's worrisome. Now, on a typical Monday, that wouldn't be such a big deal. But this is a spring break Monday. This is like the first taste of summer type Monday, in the sense that you have the freedom to be able to go to the theater. And this is a family film, and it's not working. We're going to talk way more about Snow White. Unfortunately, I'm so tired of talking about this movie. I refuse to see it personally. I think it looks awful, and I think it's one of the things that is driving the movie business into the ground, and I just cannot support anything about Snow White, and I think there's a lot of people alongside with me. But for spring break, Tyler, I'm going to be working through spring break. I assume you will be working through spring break as well. But do you have anything fun you're looking forward to this week, with sort of like this sort of different change of season in the air? Nothing
I didn't
exceptional?
even know it was spring break.
Oh, okay. That's why everyone's really kind of out right now. There's
Uh,
also there's also the NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Yep,
That
that
has
is going on.
a lot of people losing their minds, and I watched probably more basketball this past weekend than I've watched in years. I thought it was exceptional entertainment. It was really fun, and that's another reason why I think, like, I'm a defender of going to the theater. but I never once thought, you know what, I'm going to leave this compelling basketball game to go watch the Alto Knights. Like never once.
Man, even I skipped that one this weekend. I just looked at it and I was like, man, I'm not crazy about old man Robert De Niro mobster, and you get a double dose of that in this movie.
I'm tired of old man Robert De Niro. I'm tired of old man Harrison Ford. I can't continue to support those two in their recent endeavors there. But the men's basketball tournament, obviously in this state, has become really big as well. It's always been big, but I mean, it's even bigger when you have both Alabama and Auburn making the Sweet 16. So good stuff there. We've got full coverage on the next round. Really, hats off to Jim Dunaway, Taylor Korn for getting out there and covering these games on the ground. It's going to be electric to see Alabama playing in New Jersey, to see Auburn playing in Atlanta, and we will have boots on the ground, and I can't wait for their full coverage and all their post shows. And it's been a really exceptional basketball season here for the entire state. I mean, obviously UAB is doing big things in the NIT, and I've been excited to see what this state has produced in terms of basketball product, and that continues on. How far can these two teams go? We shall see. But make sure you're tuned into the next round each and every day, 9 to noon on their platform. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do that. I've been playing another game as well on Xbox. I have gotten to a point in my life where I can't play games for a long extended amount of time because there's just not enough time in the day to really make a lot of progress. So I like games that I can pick up, play for an hour, and then be done with it, and then come back and play for another hour when I get an hour and be done with it.
I've always used Warzone for that.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
feel like it's easy to just pick up and play a match and either rage quit after someone who is clearly cheating gets you,
Yeah.
and because you would never die in any other circumstance, or you finish the game and just say, "Oh, I got errands to run."
Exactly. Like I like games that I can fit into my schedule compared to long-winded games that take me on a journey. Now, I love those games, but only if I have a full week away from responsibility.
Absolutely.
Like I never took it for granted being able to come home from school, knock out homework, and then be able to have long gaming sessions. I never took it for granted on the weekends back in the day being able to have long gaming sessions. I always said this is awesome. Like, this is great. But there's a couple things. There's like life gets in the way now, and the quality of games it's fallen off tremendously. Like maybe the entire entertainment industry has fallen off tremendously. Maybe not television, but like I don't know, it's I don't think the quality of video games today is nearly as good as it was growing up. I felt like there was
Ooh.
banger after banger, big title after big title. Games felt more important back in the
Games
day
were also a lot less expensive to make.
and a lot less expensive to purchase
To
and buy.
buy, yes, that's true.
And you got full games. Like when you'd buy a game, you got the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. No, day 1 patch, no, DLC expansion that really just should have been included with the game.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
the
no,
microtransactions we have to deal with these days where, yeah, do you want to buy Mortal Kombat 1? I do. I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. Okay, well, if you want the whole experience, it's
I
another
was
$20 and it's another $20. And it's like,
I
man,
immediately thought of Mortal Kombat. That's the funny thing because, you pop in the one of the old Mortal Kombat
yeah,
discs for the like in the PlayStation 2 era. There's secret fighters in there. They're unlockable. You
right.
can buy them
Yeah.
in the crypt in the game with coins you earn in the game, and there's no way to buy them. Me and my dad just had to go plow through arcade level after arcade level and beat Moak 20,000 times
Right.
to try and unlock everybody,
You could grind.
and now that's not even an option.
No.
See, I would just like that to be an option.
Yeah.
If you wanna buy the characters, go for it. It's the modern era.
Hmm.
I prefer to grind it out and not pay an extra $40 to use the cameo characters.
And do they not realize that's what makes you more invested in the game itself to keep it alive for longer? So that way, like,
Absolutely.
more people are actually committing to your. I'm more likely to spend money if I feel like I can get all the primary things through actually achieving, and then I can unlock like maybe extra costumes or skins or
Yeah.
something through microtransactions. I'm much more likely to do that to try to unlock the game myself and then spice up the game with microtransactions compared to I've got to right out of the gate pay a lot of money in order to have the thing that they're selling as the big feature or
Right.
character. So it's frustrating, but I love Mortal Kombat, but not enough to feel like I'm working every day on behalf of my Mortal Kombat addiction.
Yeah, I don't wanna pay an extra $20 on top of
Yeah.
what is already gotten to be a
70.
higher $70 for
Yeah.
retail price for, new gen games, and just to play the Xenomorphs a
Yep.
couple times.
Yeah. And they run a lot of digital deals, but a lot of times those deals don't go to like physical discs in the retailers
Mhm.
at the same time. And I do feel like if you ever want to get your money out of the game, you got to have a physical disc in order to be able to actually sell it. And I don't know. I don't want to sound like an old man, but I'm sounding a little bit like an old man here. But I finally found a game that I'm really invested in that's on Xbox Game Pass.
Okay.
I play Xbox primarily, and it's called Balatro.
I've heard good things.
Love it. Like I'm a poker player, and this is a game that is a let's see now, it's like a card-based sim strategy game that you play basically draw poker in to try
Okay.
to go on runs, long runs, but you have multipliers and all kinds of different special cards you can use to unlock big bonuses, and your goal is to go on as big of a run as possible. And once you lose, your run ends. It's like Pac-Man almost. It's like once you die, you have to start over at the beginning. And I really love it. It's got a little bit of an addictive quality to it. I don't know if that's good for all the kids out there when it comes to card games, but I'm sure casinos love Balatro being played out there. But it's a really fun game. It's a strategy turn-based card game. It's really fun. I don't know. I'm probably messing up all the words describing it, but it's it's almost like if Pokemon and poker
Okay.
combined, and you can turn cards you have into specialty cards and you can like upgrade them, and it's a lot of fun. And there's a learning curve to it for sure. And there's some few little tricks and tips that I'm starting to learn of how to get those massive combos, but it's super exhilarating, super fun.
Have you played Hearthstone?
I have not.
I think you would enjoy Hearthstone.
Sounds right.
Yeah,
Sounds like if it lines up at all with
it's
this.
a it's a it's a strategy card game where, you build your deck and, you've gotta play your cards in a certain order to take out the other deck.
Sounds fun to me. Balatro is my gateway drug to Hearthstone or Hearthstone?
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone.
I
Yeah,
wanna
wanna
I
make sure I
I
get
I
that right.
might have this wrong, but I wanna say it uses, like World of Warcraft stuff.
Mm,
I'm not sure. I know it's made by Blizzard.
yeah. I, we have by the way, we have Ross in the chat. What happened to Tyler playing that crab game? Uh,
You see a PS5 in here, Tim?
yeah, no PS5 in here, but, that was fun. That was
That
fun
was
times.
fun.
Tyler's Lobster Adventure is what we called it, but, I have a feeling that you'd be a little rusty on that game if we got back to it.
I would be very rusty, although I have been playing a lot of, Ghost of Tsushima over the
Oh,
weekend.
really?
Very fun game. I wanna say it's PlayStation 5 exclusive or PlayStation exclusive, but very worth it. I wanna say it was on the PlayStation version of Game Pass. It might still be, but it's very fun. It's got, like, Assassin's Creed sort of combat style, and, you're a samurai trying to take back your home island after it's been invaded by the Mongolians. A lot of fun. They base the cinematography and a lot of the cinematics off of the films of Akira Kurosawa, director of Seven Samurai. So I'm nerding out about that.
It definitely sounds like your cup of tea for sure. Let's see here. We have Charles in the chat saying, "I love Balatro. I'm obsessed with it right now." And we also have in the chat here. Uh, let's see here. Hunter Bussy saying also want to try Repo. Looks hilarious. And then asked if we need a PS5. Who knows, Hunter? We may use your PS5 here very soon to pull off something. Indiana Jones getting a lot of love here in the chat as well. I downloaded the full game because it's on Game Pass. I've played about 10 minutes of it, and it was perfectly fine. I mean, it was fun, but it's once again, one of those games where I don't wanna start playing it until I have the time to really sit down and get into it, but aren't we all waiting for GTA 6? That's what we're all waiting for,
I
right?
mean, we are, and speaking of inflated retail prices, that GTA 6 is reportedly gonna come out with a price tag of over $100.
Worth it.
And I 100%.
You know what?
I have expected there to be some contention about that, but no, I think I'm gonna get well over $100 worth of enjoyment
For sure.
out of GTA 6. So it's all good.
Considering, like, you're paying basically for the next 15 to 20 years of
Right.
being able to play GTA, over time, it pays off.
Like I'm paying to play GTA 6
Yeah,
until they release it on the PS6,
correct.
essentially.
The real question is how much space is it gonna take up? Because if it takes up my entire hard drive, am I like, is it $100 just for the game, and then I have to go buy a hard drive as well in order to be able to.
That might be the case. You gotta buy an external hard drive.
Yeah. That's another thing I hate about modern gaming, right? Is that, like, it's so few games where you can just sort of jump in. Now, they have cloud gaming now, but the quality is not nearly as
Mhm.
good as when you download it. That's sort of the trade-off, but it allows you to sort of test a game, by using the cloud gaming. But, I mean, just the amount of space and the amount of having to make sure that you're deleting old things, and then when you delete old things, you typically don't re-download them and play them again. So,
Right.
like, it kills the lifespan of a lot of games because you used to just be able to pop in a game and have some fun. But once again, I sound like an old man. So I just wish gaming was as electric for me now as it was back then. And for some reason, I just can't tap the vein as much. But I'm really liking Balatro and hoping that I don't get tired of it. It's a little bit of an eyesore. I'm going to have to, like, some of the graphics, I'm going to have to work on in the menus and stuff. But other than that, it's good. Speaking of an eyesore, Snow White. We've got to talk about this. It's the biggest story in theatrical exhibition right now. I do not personally enjoy crapping all over Snow White. There's a lot of channels out there that, they've sort of found commerce in being able to simply root against movies in all of them.
And it's funny because they don't have to see any of them to do their job
Oh yeah,
because they only blame one thing on it anyway.
yeah. They can boycott everything, and then and look, Hollywood studios aren't helping themselves by
No.
putting out stuff that clearly adds fuel to the fire for a lot of channels that can just trounce on them. And Snow White was one of those where, for the past few years, there's been a stank on this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Years, there's been a stank. Then the movie comes out and it's not very good, according to you, as well as a lot of other people. But Tyler, you went and saw it for yourself just to see exactly if it was bad. And you've laid out there that this is not a good movie. Even for kids that are just looking for a way to escape on spring break, it's not really that enjoyable of an experience. Um, you don't blame Rachel Zegler for it from a performance standpoint, and no one else really is either. Like, I've been reading a lot of reviews that are bashing the sort of the business behind this move of putting out the Snow White movie that say that her performance is fine, like
Yeah.
that she gives her all.
Yes.
But they also talk about how much of a disaster she was on the press tour when she
Both are
just
true.
destroyed the original IP and, went after conservative viewers potentially that could be buying tickets to go see this movie. Remember the Michael Jordan phrase, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of things. Her and Gal Gadot hate each other. I mean, clearly hate each other. Like Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively level of hate.
It's bad.
It's bad. They hate each other. So you think, well, maybe that'll help sell the movie. But the problem is Rachel Zegler off camera or off movie, off script is a train wreck. And Gal Gadot, when she's on camera and has a script, is a train wreck. So it doesn't work out too well.
And the people who want to be political and boycott the movie can really be of any ideology because there's people upset that Gal Gadot's in the movie
Hmm.
because of her background, and then there's people that upset about Rachel Zegler because she can't market her own movies for some reason.
Correct. So, with all that being said, it also just the formula of the Disney live action remake, while there has been a lot of success associated with that formula monetarily, um, people are also kind of fatigued by that too. So there's people that just simply sit out because they don't know any of the drama. They just don't want to see one of the least popular Disney princesses get her own movie and go live in that world. Like, the Snow White IP is not worth nearly as much as a lot of the more recent fare. Like, that's a big issue, just getting people to care about Snow White, first and foremost.
Mhm.
But Disney's obsessed with revitalizing their own properties. They couldn't do it with Snow White. It's got a 44% on Rotten Tomatoes last time I checked, a 74% audience score. But once again, you can't really trust the audience score because people come in with their own sort of predisposition and of how they feel about it, maybe even before they see it. So the audience score, there's
A-
no perfect way to sort of put a formula with movies and their cultural impact.
And the Rotten Tomatoes has the verified audience score, which means you have to be in the US and have reserved your ticket with Fandango and have already had a Rotten Tomatoes account for your reviewed account.
Because they know that if that was not the case, this movie would be at a
4.
I'm not sure it'd be at a 4,
It'd be at like a 12
but
or a 14.
it'd be in the 20s
Yeah.
probably. I'd say it'd be in the 20s because you'd get people fighting against it, but it'd be vastly different. Made $44 million this opening weekend internationally, so that's everywhere but the North American box office, and then $43 million domestically. So really underperformed. Supposed to make at least 50 here domestically. It made 43. They are adapting this 1937 film that, once again, a lot of kids don't really care as much about Snow White as they care about Anna and Elsa and all the other gang. Had an estimated budget of 250 million. This is the real big issue because that's pre-marketing. So, like, let's say they spent $100 million to market the movie. That's
Which would have been
350.
light for this movie as long as the rollout has been.
Oh yeah. So let's just be conservative and say $350 million hard in cost.
Mhm.
So people are thinking like, okay, so it has to make 350 in order to break even.
Nope, gotta make 700 to break even.
Correct. To break even, got to make $700 million, and that's being conservative. It's probably more than that, but to really be profitable and worth the gamble, it needs to be a near billion-dollar movie.
Yes.
There is no way, after having seen that trailer, that I said this is going to be a billion-dollar movie. There's a lot of defenders of this movie though, going, guys, let's look at the opening weekend here, okay? This movie made $43 million domestically opening weekend. You know what else did pretty poor opening weekend?
Mufasa.
Mufasa made 35 million, made
It held
less.
well.
And it's now plus $700 million at the international box office, the entire worldwide global box office. So why can't Snow White do that? Well, Mufasa wasn't panned. It wasn't a cultural touchstone of like, it wasn't a part of the ideological sort of social political war that we're in right now on the internet. Mufasa wasn't this sort of lightning point. It was really its biggest point of contention was it was going up against Sonic, and there were a bunch of Sonic fans that wanted to see Mufasa fail, and there's a bunch of Mufasa fans that are like, "Oh, it's going to perform better," and they just kind of it wasn't a Barbenheimer moment, but they kind of fueled each other. And Mufasa had the staying power, and we were dead wrong in our versus video about who won ultimately between those two. Mufasa's not a very good movie.
No, it's not.
And I'm a Disney fan, but Mufasa's not a very good movie. But the biggest thing that Mufasa had going for it is for months there's been nothing to watch at the movies that people can agree is quality entertainment, especially family entertainment, that people can like fully agree this is really, really good. And even if there is family entertainment that has popped up, something like Dogman or something like Paddington or something like that, that IP compared to The Lion King and Disney and being the juggernaut that it is, having three nearly $4 billion movies out of 2024, Mufasa being that near fourth there, but $3 billion movies in 2024 when no other studio had one. Mufasa had a lot of things working for it in that when people were looking for time to kill, they'd purchase a ticket to Mufasa. Like, okay, it's a 4 quadrant movie. It gets everybody in the seats, and it held incredibly well. And it wasn't because it was exceptionally good, it's because everything else was exceptionally bad. And it's been that way for a while.
Or exceptionally niche.
Or exceptionally niche.
It's
And
like Dogman. I thought Dogman was really solid.
yeah,
But say you've got your typical family of 4, your nuclear family, mom, dad, son, and daughter. Son might want to go see Dogman. Daughter, little girl's not gonna want to see Dogman
Right.
typically. Then Paddington, and that might be interest to daughter more, but the Adventures of a Polite Bear might not interest the 8-year-old that wants action movies and lots of fights.
Yeah.
But Mufasa appeals to everybody. It's a 4 quadrant movie.
It appeals to everybody, and it's a safe movie to bring everybody to, and, it's perfectly it's like it's the Moana mentality. Moana 2 was very generic, but it fits the needs of, "We need to go do something. What do we do? Oh, a new Moana's out? Done. We've watched the original on Disney Plus 1,000 times. Oh, so easy." Same thing with The Lion King,
Hmm.
Like, my generation grew up with The Lion King, right? As a major touchstone. You have an affinity for the Lion King IP, Lion King 1.5 especially.
Oh yeah.
You champion that movie more than anybody I've ever met, and that's safe to say. Um, People go, "What's the first thing you know about Tyler?" I go, "Well, his middle name's Lionel, and the second thing I know is he loves Lion King 1.5." One of those is true. Anyway, pulling back the curtain. But Mufasa's just a safe it can hold with there being no other like, people aren't debating, "Do I go see The Brutalist or Mufasa?" They're not debating that. They're not debating that. So, this whole argument of Snow White's gonna hold like Mufasa did is not gonna be the case. It's not.
The music in Mufasa was a lot better.
Lin-Manuel
The
Miranda is responsible for
the,
that.
the characters are a lot better. Yeah, everything's better. It's visually better. It's written better.
Yeah.
Sounds better.
Yep. I just there's no world, and I may be wrong again, we'll see. There's no world where Snow White holds the way Mufasa has, especially since it's been so culturally divisive. But also, you know what else Mufasa had working for it? Is that if you look at the Disney live action reimaginings that have been put out, at the bottom of that list for at the bottom of the list right now for openings is Mufasa. At the top of the list is The Lion King. So think about that. In between, you have all the other Disney live action reimaginings for the most part, minus something like Pete's Dragon or something like that that isn't really part of the conversation. But all the big ones, Mufasa the lowest, Lion King the highest. That Lion King being at the very top ended up helping Mufasa as well get more of an audience because the Lion King was a smash success, the Jon Favreau Lion King. Snow White doesn't have anything else working for it to help it have some sort of cultural relevancy with people past its own what it's trying to present as being its individual self. So
How
no,
would kids today experience the original Snow White? Because I can't imagine it's something they're necessarily seeking out on Disney Plus unless their parents are, just putting it
yeah.
putting it on for them, saying, "Oh, look, it's a Disney princess." Because like I think of how I got into like older Disney films, and it was typically like hand me down VHS tapes. You know?
If you think about it, right, I'm going to answer your question by bringing up what is a big point of contention, which is Rachel Zegler came out and said the old movie is old and dumb, basically. Like we're not going to do things that way. It's we hate that version, and that immediately makes people go like, okay, well, I'm out if I have an affinity for it, and I'm out if I already don't care about it because you're right, it is old and dumb. So it pisses off both sides. So you're right. Like my daughter cares nothing about Snow White for the most part. There's the Minecraft ride at Disney World, which people may be excited about at Magic Kingdom. It would have been put in, I think, after your last time there, so it's relatively new. I think it came out about 10 years ago or so.
Man, I don't even know if Minecraft was even out last time I went to Disney World.
Yeah, yeah. The Snow White Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or whatever it is. Um, it's out there at Disney World, and it is. I couldn't fit in it, to be honest. I rode it once and thought I was going to die on it because the amount of room between where my back is against the seat and my knees, I had no room, and they have these dividers in the carts,
Oh,
so that way you can't spread out at all. So I thought my hips were going to become disjointed while I'm riding. And I'm like, I'm about to become the eighth dwarf. It was a nightmare situation. It was very painful. I was screaming the entire time, but not having a fun time. Like everybody else thought I was having a fun time. I was screaming because I thought my hip was going to pop out of place, which also makes me sound like an old man. But anyway, The Lion King made $191 million opening weekend. Snow White made $43 million opening weekend. It's a big difference. And I don't know how Disney does anything other than just try to get past this. I will say, if there's one positive, is that Misery loves company and Snow White has a lot of company. Snow White made more domestically in one weekend, and it's a box office bomb, than Mickey 17 has made in 3 weekends. So think about that. That's really depressing.
Their weren't their budgets right around the same too?
Yeah.
Mickey 17 was expensive.
Yeah. Budget's right around the same. Mickey 17 a tougher draw, no doubt,
Yeah.
than a family-friendly Disney movie. Doesn't matter what it is, you know. But, like, Mickey 17 has made less than Snow White, and it's been out for 3 weekends. And that's a huge misfire for Warner Brothers and Bong Joon-ho.
In Bong Joon-ho latest news, John Carpenter wants to return to film scoring for his next movie.
I think on stage he agreed to do it.
Yeah.
Like Bong Joon-ho wants to do a horror movie, and
Mhm.
which I'm in for, by the way. I'm not
Yeah.
selling Bong Joon-ho that much, but there's no doubt Mickey 17 is an absolute dumpster fire. I hated the movie to begin with, so that's one thing. But it's just it's generating no audience. Like it's falling apart every week. It gets worse. And I don't see how it's not looked at as a massive failure for a Warner Brothers that needs a hit.
Yes.
Speaking of Warner Brothers, Alto Nights. Okay. Robert De Niro is in this movie. If you don't like old man Robert De Niro, like Tyler and I, we've sold ours. This gives you 2 old men Robert De Niro in the same movie. That thing you're already tired of, you get 2 of it. And oh, by the way, Robert De Niro hates half the country too. So, he's been pretty adamant. So what are they going to do? Show up and be like, okay, I'm going to go watch Robert De Niro. These people are so out of
And there's
touch.
also like nobody else in that cast either. You're relying solely on double De Niro.
Yeah. Who's in this movie? Well, Robert De Niro and Robert De Niro. And he's old Irishman, old man. Irishman killed Robert De Niro for me. The Irishman, I don't know if you ever saw it.
I did.
That scene where he's trying to kick the store owner, like in a mob hit sort of thing, like mob justice, and he's like limping over there, and he's supposed to be de-aged and young, and he's like, he's like barely moving, and it's so bad. So bad. I just, that was painful to watch.
I like the parts of The Irishman that weren't De Niro, like, in any kind of action. I like the parts of The Irishman that are just talking.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. When they're doing less, it's better. That's what The Irishman is. Irishman is on Criterion, I believe. Is there a Criterion Irishman?
I don't know. I wanna say that was a Netflix release.
There are, like, Marriage Story was a Netflix release, and it also got a Criterion release.
It does have a Criterion
Yeah.
release.
It's one I will never own.
Yeah, out of every Scorsese movie, that's, like, the last one I would
Yeah.
pick up.
Yeah, give me a Goodfellas Criterion release, and I am
Yes.
buying it immediately.
Or even a Wolf of Wall Street,
Sure. Casino.
which is available on Disney Plus now.
That sounds like it adds up there. Still, more people watching Wolf of Wall Street on Disney Plus than Snow White. Okay, Novocaine
Yep.
last week was in first place. Looked at as a little win for Jack Quaid because wasn't much competition, but he was able to win, and so that was good. Dropped from first to fifth this weekend.
Oof.
It's a huge drop. Like it had only made like 8.5 million or something opening weekend. So it wasn't like it had a huge monetary drop, but I mean the fact that it dropped 4 spots from number 1 to number 5 and Mickey 17 actually made more this past weekend than Novocaine is
Do you think that these screen unseens hurt movies like this? Because
no. No, it helps.
okay, because I was gonna say it got good word of mouth from the screen unseen, but
No. It's
I
money
would
in the bank.
I would assume everybody that was at the screen unseen would also go see Novocaine because everybody there's an A-list member. So for the most part, anyway.
It's money in the bank for the studio that puts it out. So I mean they get guaranteed money by doing the screen unseen, right?
Oh yeah, that's a
People
good
that
point.
would never
Yeah.
show up because it's a screen unseen. Even if they walk out or even if they hate it, the money's in the bank. So it's like guaranteed money for the film. So does it hurt the movie? No, because it's guaranteed money at a time where any
I guess let me rephrase. Does
yeah,
it
yeah.
hurt its opening weekend rather?
Does it hurt the buzz more specifically or the money? I mean,
The number for opening weekend. Assuming the buzz will carry over, the people who saw it and liked it and told people to go see it still saw it, liked it, told people to go see it.
let's work this out because I don't want to give you an answer I don't believe in.
Mhm.
The Flash. When The Flash was coming out, it was heralded as the greatest comic book movie of all time. We all know that that ended up not being true by a large margin. It's not even the best movie featuring the Flash potentially. I think it actually is maybe the best movie featuring the Flash the more I think about it. I don't know. Maybe Zack Snyder's Justice League you consider to be better than the Flash. I don't know. The point I'm getting to is this. They had all this buzz, and then they started doing fan screenings to build more buzz for weeks before the official release. So it felt like the movie had been out for 2 months,
Mhm.
and by the time the premiere came around, or the actual date where you could go see it, you felt no buzz. Because it felt like everybody else on the planet had already seen it, and you're almost being punished where you wanted to see it, and now you're going in and you're like, really, this is the best you got? Like, that's why you did all the fan screenings, and the fan screenings started to tamper the buzz down too. Like fans started walking out going like, this isn't the best thing ever. I don't know what's going on. And they're like, well, I mean, let's go see this for myself. So whenever a movie opens early and a select few group of people could see it, even if they like it or they don't like it, it makes you feel like you've been jilted in a way. It makes you feel like you've been kind of left in the cold and like you didn't get picked first on the dodgeball team and now you're like, well, I'm not going to play as hard. It's like one of those things where does it hurt it? Maybe. But enough people don't know about they don't even know screen unseen is a thing
That's true.
to where it should be such a minimal amount of frustration from that. And once again, the studios will continue to do it because it's guaranteed money. Because people don't have to seek it out. They just have to know that they're showing up to the theater. And that's it. So it works for the theater, it works for the studios, it works for the movies. I think the problem is it's such a niche thing that tonally doesn't appeal to a lot of people. Like Novocaine, if it had launched on Amazon Prime and not gone theatrical, it would have been like the perfect Amazon Prime movie. Like,
It
yeah,
really would have been. It would have been the talk of the town for the week.
but theatrically, it is a comedy, which is tough to bring anybody in for because we all now have become addicted to our phones. The number one thing killing the theaters right now is really our phones. Because the thing that we used to do back in the day was we'd go to the theater for entertainment. And now we go to our phones for entertainment. And our phones are telling us the theater's no longer full of entertainment anyway. So, like, why would we go to the theater and pay huge amount of money to go take a risk when we can go to our phone and watch a bunch of free content? Like, you know what's kept me from rewatching a ton of movies? YouTube. Because I can just go watch the scene I want to watch, or I can go, like, just live the moment. Like, I feel like today I rewatched Billy Madison because I pulled one scene from it and watched it.
Yeah, I feel like I rewatched Billy Madison
And,
too,
and
and I got
I,
exactly I feel like I got the same amount of enjoyment from you, me, and Scott just watching that one scene in the back room as I would have been just watching the whole thing at home.
we all value our time and our money. People are like, well, which one's more valuable, time or money? Well, if you go to the theater, you're giving up both.
Yeah.
So it better be a guaranteed good experience, or it better be something where like you like cannot live without seeing this movie. And how many of those have come out lately? Very few. Like you're trying to find diamonds in the rough. The reason you're trying to find diamonds in the rough is because it's rough. It's just all rough. Like I
All
am
right.
I am damaged with how bad theaters have become. Not only the experience for the consumer in that everything's got to go right, right? The bathroom's got to be good, the concessions have to be good, the audience has to be good, the employees have to be good. Like there's so many different things that if one of those things is off, you feel like you got ripped off.
Man, the AC was I'm pretty sure was out in my theater last night.
Exactly. Everything else can go right, but if there's no AC, what do you remember about the trip?
Oh my gosh. And I think it soured me on the movie a little bit. I feel like I would have had a more favorable opinion of that movie had I not been sweating bullets
I thought you were
during.
gonna say something else. Um, yeah, you're right. So, like, legitimately, Tyler, okay? We do this for a living. We are passionate about it too. But if someone came to you and said, "You know what? I'm thinking about bringing my date to go see Alto Nights. Um, it'll end up costing us about $50 with tickets, concessions, the whole experience. Premium night, it's not a matinee, we may see it in 3D.
Alto Nights in
There,
3D.
there's not a 3D, but let's just say for this instance, there's a 3D. And I'm thinking about going and it's $50. Is that a good deal in your opinion?
Nah,
Okay. What movie is worth that right now that's out for $50?
I mean, it depends on your taste. If you weren't saying date night, I'd say Looney Tunes. I still am thinking about a lot of the jokes in that movie.
That's
It
awesome.
brought me a lot of joy.
It is date night though. It's date
It's
night.
date
I'm
night,
bringing my date. I'm not bringing the family. I'm bringing my date. So, I mean, there's this expectation that I'm going to provide a quality experience
right?
for X amount of dollars. Now, 20 years ago, not an issue. You had a pick of the litter of things to watch. I was watching there's a channel called Vampire Robot that's on YouTube. And what they do is they go buy up B-roll footage from news companies, local news, and it's very much like nostalgia bait. So I was watching one last night that was titled, like sometimes you'll see like arcade in 1992, and you'll be watching people playing the arcade in 1992 for 7 minutes, and you're like, this is awesome. I remember that game. I remember this. Some of them are like, take a trip to the mall in 1996, and like you're walking the mall in 1996, and you're like, oh man, this is like, and it's all
George
free,
Julius.
right? And you're tapping the vein of nostalgia, which is so potent to all of us. Well, I watched one last night. It was go to the movies in 2003, and you look at the marquee, Bad Boys, which by the way, there was a ticket taker there. And this guy walks up, he goes, two for Bad Boys. I go, okay, I'm gonna need to see ID. And you can tell the young kid's like, ID? And then he's like, yeah, it's an R-rated feature. You need it. Show me an ID. And he's like, oh man, it's in the car. I'll be back. And he never comes back. But anyway, it's very funny. But Bad Boys, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, just hit after hit after hit. I think there was a Bourne movie up there too. Um,
2003, I'm pretty sure also would have been Return of the King.
oh yeah. So I mean, the point I'm getting at is that what was interesting was not only did you have ticket takers, now you don't even have that. Like I have to find someone to scan me in to go see the movie.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta do that.
Like I'm looking around, I'm standing at the podium, I'm like, there's nobody outside at the little microphone anymore. So like they don't even want to sell you tickets at the theater, much less, have you pick from a slew of films. But there's a line of people, they're walking up and they're all picking different movies. And it's like there's an excitement, a buzz, and they're expensive. Like, okay, two tickets, that'll be $17. And I was like, that's not cheap, especially in 2003. I mean, that's not cheap. So the point I'm getting at is you don't see that now. You pull up and it's a desolate wasteland to the point where now they're starting to close down theaters around us. Like we've already had a couple close down, but now we're starting to really hit close that like these movie theaters can't continue to run their operation because there's just not that promise of quality being delivered to the consumer that as a theater goer you're going to be overcharged on something if you get the full experience. You know that going in. That's the agreement. But you also know there's no better way to watch a movie than in a packed house with the best possible entertainment or the best possible electronics, that surround sound, the dark, popcorn, feeling. But now people are like, you know what? It's not that great because something always goes wrong or somebody always ruins it. And oh, by the way, I'm paying a huge amount of money. And when people have a bad experience, you know what they stop doing? They stop going. They don't really fight for it. They don't get the manager and they don't try to, argue how the theater should be changed or fixed because the manager typically is burnt out. Like they can't keep employees. The turnover is
The
insane.
managers are like my age.
The managers like I can't. It's hard
I
for me.
went to high school with one of the managers at the local theater.
Well, there you go.
They're in charge of the whole place, and they're
Yeah,
my age.
they've they've weeded out a lot of people that used to really take their craft very, very seriously at the theaters. Now that's not talking about all theater employees. They work incredibly hard, but if you have a bad theater employee, it can cost you a lot of repeat business.
And for the most part, working at a theater isn't necessarily a career anymore. You used to be
Yeah,
able to have projectionists,
yeah,
and like that would be a long term career for someone is displaying movies and doing it properly.
yeah.
And well, that's also because of digital projection now that why
Dude,
that's not a thing. But I mean, it's like that with every position, it
I
seems.
went to go see Last Breath, the movie about the oil rig repair workers that are trapped underwater and need some help. And there was a light on from the projection booth the entire time. Now, I was the only one in the theater. There's a light on in the projection booth shining into, and it's completely ruining the experience for me from a visual standpoint because
Hmm.
the movie's very dark, it's very dim, and it's very like, you know, like
Like you're underwater the whole
dank.
movie.
Yeah, like it requires you to go like, okay, there's no light. And this light is beaming down like almost like light from heaven or something. And eventually it cut off. But you know, when we went to go see the Hans Zimmer movie where we paid out of pocket, that wasn't even an A-list thing. I paid out of pocket and extra
Mhm.
money on top of my monthly fee to go see this movie. They left the lights on in the auditorium when the movie starts. Like it's completely bright and it needs to like the art of going to the theater is dying. And if you've been to the theater recently, I'm not just I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm not trying to juice this up, but it's a real big issue for the theaters that they can't deliver on that promise of overcharging and delivering a superb experience. And it's going to end up being the death of theaters, and I hate it. But they got to get better movies and they got to have better experiences and they got to have better pricing. You got to make this something where people can escape and not feel like the minute that they swipe their card, I just got ripped off. Because the minute you get that feeling, people don't come back. They just stop coming back. There was a real quick with the box office, and then we got
Mhm.
a bigger issue here with the
Yep.
theaters. That movie Locked that you really like,
Mhm.
it actually looks like it could be really fun. Like if it had been thrown on Netflix, it would have been a huge hit this weekend. Everybody'd be talking about it probably. But it went theatrical, which I like because I want to try to keep theaters live. I just need them to hold up their end of the bargain too. It opened in 12th place. Okay. So it didn't open in the top 10. Magazine Dreams, movie that you've been getting a lot of attention for, your review of.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Jonathan Majors, right? Opened up in 16th this past weekend after expanding to a little less than 1,000 theaters.
That's fine. I never wanna have to talk about that movie again.
Well, I don't think
Jonathan Majors fans are the worst.
I don't think
The
I
worst.
don't think Magazine Dreams is going to be doing much better in its next few weeks.
I
Like
don't think it will either.
it's basically DOA. Opus, okay, the A24 movie. And where are the A24 fanboys and fangirls that are like, we champion everything A24? Because listen to this Opus is in over 1,200 theaters. It dropped over 70% to 17th place. This weekend made $282,000. Horrible. If there's one thing I can champion from this past weekend in the results, Black Bag held at the second spot, which I thought was actually pretty good. It's an adult sort of spy thriller drama.
It seems like the type of movie that the people that wanna see it aren't necessarily in a rush to see it. So
Yeah.
it does seem like the type of movie that would hold well.
Um, by the way, if you have a black tooth, you may want to do something about that because that means it's probably infected. And you've probably put that off way too long because you haven't been going to the dentist, getting your regular dental cleanings. You need to go do that. Over to the Alabama Dental Associates. Yes, that is Dr. Jeff, Dr. Brian, and Dr. Nolan providing you all sorts of services when it comes to staying on top of your dental health. If you've been dealing with some sort of issue and you don't know who to call because you're like, look, after COVID, I really kind of got out of the routine of going to the dentist regularly, and now I'm kind of ashamed and I don't know what to do about this. I'm dealing with this pain and I'm just going to try to sort my way through it. Don't do that. Don't kick the can down the road. You'll feel so much better solving the problem with Alabama Dental Associates, and they never shame you for maybe having fallen off the wagon when it comes to getting those regular dental check-ins. Make sure you visit Alabama Dental Associates to go ahead and resolve your issue today. 205-956-8977. That is 956-8977, or visit alabamadental.com, where they look forward to seeing you. Okay, I sound very doom and gloom about the theaters, and I should be sounding doom and gloom. It is panic time. Like this, the past 2 weekends have been all-time bad for a number of reasons. I'm concerned, Tyler. I'm very concerned. And if this summer Superman is not very good, Fantastic Four is not very good, the new Jurassic Park movie,
I'm not expecting that to be very
I'm
good.
not expecting it to be very good, but I'm expecting it to draw.
Yeah.
And if these movies don't draw, you know, it's going to be major issues. If Sinners doesn't draw,
Yes.
major issue, because there's going to be nothing competing against it. Like the Minecraft movie, okay? I don't think it's going to be very good.
But it will make money.
It should.
It should. Should.
If it doesn't, holy mess. Like how many more Borderlands are we going to get? I mean, like horrible, horrible results for a lot of big budget movies last year.
Mm.
And if we see another year of that, I just don't know how much more we can do this, especially since Netflix is really dominating with getting eyeballs at the very least. They're not necessarily generating profitable revenue,
Nope. They've
they're,
been floating on investors.
but they want to see the theaters crushed and snuffed
Yep.
out. So that way they're the only game in town when it comes to these new releases, or one of the only games in town, minus the studios. The studios still need the theaters. Netflix doesn't need the theaters. Netflix has never needed the theaters. The studios still do. Studios can't figure out how to make money on their own services. It just came out that Apple Plus is losing like hundreds of $1 million a year,
Yeah.
like it's just bleeding, but Apple doesn't care because Apple's Apple. Like Amazon, Apple, Netflix are all primed to snuff out the studio system because Warner Brothers can't keep taking these hits where they rely on theatrical distribution to work. Disney relies on theatrical distribution to work for the most part. They're the ones benefiting the most from the current system. We're starting now to see theaters shuttered, including the one at Lee Branch off of Highway 280, right down the street here from the Culver studio, almost literally across the street from the Culvers. They're off of Highway 280.
Yeah.
And
I believe you went to Culver's after we saw late night with the devil at
I,
this theater.
I was going to. I decided that I would end up going to Culver's for a different film. But yes, I saw Late Night with the Devil at Lee Branch a year ago because it was like the only place showing it.
Yep.
So occasionally we go to Lee Branch when it's the only place that's showing something very specific because there's really no other reason to go to Lee Branch. However, there have been times where Lee Branch has been my primary theater based on where I've worked, or I always thought it was a very nice theater with its size, but it fell behind in a lot of its updates once some other theaters started getting bigger and better. So Lee Branch is no more. Lee Branch has shuttered its doors, and it was very sad. In my list of favorite theaters on my AMC app, Lee Branch is still on there. And today, I was looking at booking a ticket for the Woman in the Yard, and Lee Branch happened to be on there, and I clicked it, and it's like there are no showtimes available, like at this place any longer, or whatever. It was very sad.
Oh no.
I know. Well, it's like official, but I mean, you knew this.
I mean, I knew. Oh.
Isn't it sad? I know.
Oh.
I know. It's very sad.
I already knew it was closing. I
Yeah.
told you it was closing.
Yeah. But like,
But
it makes
seeing
it
it on the app makes it feel real. It's not just chatter that was online.
yeah.
This is
I remember there's a movie up on the big board, actually. It's over on the far left there. It's called Black Swan. I saw Black Swan at Lee Branch late night with my girlfriend, now wife, that we saw it late night where all the employees had left. And after Black Swan, we were the only ones there. And we were walking out of this empty theater. And it was one of the most unique theater going experiences where, like, we just seen this very intense horror-esque film. It was terrifying. We walk out and it's just completely dark. Everything's completely dark. It's almost like some sort of nuclear event had happened and we were the last ones to know about it. And when we walked out, it was very strange. But I always remember that feeling with Lee Branch. And I've tasked you, Tyler, with coming up with at least 5 experiences that you had at Lee Branch that were memorable because for a long time it was your primary theater.
For a long time, it was just based off of where I lived, but, I was going to Lee Branch pretty much since it opened and was the rave cinema, and then it went through a few different rebrands and corporate mergers, and they just never updated anything inside. I swear, everything in that theater is exactly the
Yeah.
same as it was in 2004.
You can still see rave stuff in there,
Yeah.
like on the light fixtures and stuff.
Mhm.
But it was Rave, and then Carmike bought
Carmike.
Rave, and then AMC bought Carmike, and it's gotten steadily less unique of an experience, much more cookie cutter over time. I still think AMC A-List is the best deal for any moviegoer ever. The problem is AMC A-List is not really that great of a deal if you don't want to go to the movies. And like there's not a lot of reasons to go to the movies right now. I can't hit that home enough. But I want to get into I guess you want to go honorable mentions first or number 5?
Let me grab my list so I can quickly run through my honorable mentions. So, just missing the list. This would be number 7. As above, so below. Seeing that at Lee
I don't
Branch. Did
remember
you?
this movie.
It had the red poster with the Eiffel Tower on it, and it was the spelunkers that go in the catacombs beneath Paris.
Do
It
not
was
remember
it
this one.
was kind of similar to The Descent,
Mhm.
but anyway, it was a movie I always thought was kind of done dirty, and I really liked it in middle school.
Well, I did not know anything about it, so it obviously its marketing campaign did not have an effect on me. I love The Descent, but there's a lot of movies where it's like it's kind of like The Descent, but because The Descent is such a tentpole of like
Yeah,
this movie came out of nowhere and it was awesome.
yes.
And a lot of people are like, if you like The Descent, you'll like this. And I'm like, just watch The Descent again. Anyway, that's a me problem.
I would say just watch The Descent again, but I had seen As Above, So Below before I ever watched The Descent.
Horrible title for the name, by the way. Like,
Yeah, it's not great, but it also has to do with like the different theories about what's located in the lost in the catacombs, people seeing the devil down there and all sorts of weird stuff, and so it relates back to the old occult saying
got it.
as above so below. Anyway, moving on. Number 6, just missing the cut. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief.
Oh, I feel like we've pulled this from the mystery box before.
We have. It's a terrible movie. This was so memorable to me because I was a big fan of the book series, and me and my friends all went to the movies to see it the first night it opened, and we were just kinda like, that was a movie. Books were definitely better."
Back before you knew movies sucked before they came out, like where you had to kind of like still experience whether or not for yourself they were
Yeah.
good or bad. So, yeah, that's another thing phones have done to us, right? They immediately tell us whether or not something is good or bad. And then a lot of people that just go, okay, so it sucks, I'm done.
Like,
So,
all we had to go off of was the trailers and the posters. Poster looked sick, but
sure. That's what
it
the video store was, right?
yeah.
You went off the box art for the most point, like, especially in the horror section where you're like, man, that looks interesting. I don't know what is going on in this movie, but that looks interesting. I'm going to buy it. So you don't really get that anymore. People figure it all out before they even go. They can basically read the whole movie before even going to see it if they want to. All right,
Yep.
let's get into the official. What makes the top 5?
Top 5, starting off, number 5, this is a terrible movie. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
But it was a memorable experience,
It
obviously.
is such a memorable experience because I wanna say this is the first movie where I watched it, and I go, "I typically like pretty much everything I see in the theaters." That I think was bad,
Okay.
and it's After Earth with Will Smith and Jaden Smith.
Oh,
Did you ever see this?
I skipped this one. I skipped it because I was like, this looks awful. There's also M. Night's behind it as
M.
well.
Night is behind this as well, and there's also, like, a lot of influence, involvement, and reference to the Church of Scientology, so it's just a weird movie. It's not good at all, but it was my friend's birthday, and he was like, "Let's go see this," because, I think at the time our choices were this and Fast and Furious, whatever, and we had already seen that.
The poster there, I've always looked at that poster and thought that that's not Will Smith, that's the guy from House Party. I don't know if you know the movie House Party at all.
I don't, but that doesn't look like Will Smith. Who is that?
It's definitely Will Smith, but, like, he looks like the guy from House Party. I don't know, I don't know that. Yeah, House Party. So, like, I don't know if you can Google House Party, but, it
Yeah.
looks like the poster for House Party. That's what I see every single time. I don't know if anybody even knows what House Party is. Maybe I'm just,
The 1990 house party or the 2023 house
the
party?
1990 House Party,
Oh,
but
yeah. Wow, that's nuts.
that's what it looks like to me. Okay. Yeah, that movie's awful from everything I've heard. I did not watch it even when it was on HBO and stuff. I always refused to watch it. I just like to stay away from stinkers as much as possible, and I felt like that would definitely be one. And I'm not huge on Will Smith and a lot of his action movies. I love Independence Day. I think Will Smith is a fantastic genie in Aladdin. That's about it for me. I'm not a huge Will Smith action fan. I didn't like
You
Hancock. I didn't like
you didn't like I Am Legend?
I Am Legend
Wow,
that
okay.
much. Didn't
Okay.
hated iRobot,
Oh,
which I know you really
yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah.
Just Will Smith action movies never really been, Enemy of the State. Just never really been big on it for me personally. But
Hey,
anyway,
that's fine. This one was awful.
yeah.
Moving on, number 4, a movie that I'm not wild about, but going to see this was an event. The release was an event, and also I got to see this, kind of not necessarily playing hooky that day, but my class had our AP exam, and once you're done with that exam, you can leave. So we did. We went to Baumhauer's, and then we went to see Captain America: Civil War.
Okay.
This was a lot of fun. There's just something about being in the outside world at a time when you are supposed to be chained to your desk focusing on fractions or whatever.
Hmm.
And that was the experience here. You ever have 90 kids rush into a Baumhauer's and all ask to sit down?
Yeah.
Oh man, I feel bad for the workers that day. Uh, but it's just a great memory of me eking past the AP exam in US history and getting to see the MCU Spider-Man for the first time.
I went and worked a Coleman track meet for a sports network and then went to go see Civil War there in Coleman and had the worst leg cramp ever during Civil War and had to get up. I thought I was going to die. I had to get up screaming in agony like a giant that is being melted into volcanic ash. And I had to watch the rest of the movie from the walkway where I wouldn't make anybody else's experience awful by standing up throughout the movie because I couldn't sit back down. I had such a horrible leg cramp. And so I did get to see Spider-Man debut, like you said, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, while having the worst leg cramp of my life. And I think it affected my viewing performance of the movie.
I think it does affect your viewing
Yeah.
performance.
But that, two very different experiences there between the two of us. All right, let's move on.
Number 3, I'm kind of cheating with this one, and you'll understand why when I get to it. And this is because when I was a wee young Lionel, um, my friends and I would just hang out and like trash at each other's places for a week at a time, just like sort of trading houses. And
That's unique.
yeah, yeah, just be like, all right, 2 nights at this guy's house. All right, now let's go to my house. Oh, now let's go over there. So we can do this, this, and this. And we'd go see movies all week during the summer. And one franchise that we all absolutely fell in love with was the reboot of the Planet of the Apes franchise. We saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Same group, all going together. And that's just one of those memories that is going to stick with me because Everybody loved that movie, and it was just one of those times where everyone's excited for it, and you walk out of the theater talking about the movie, everything you liked, and then that conversation just continues for however long it does.
That's a great way to put that because you never know when it's gonna be the last time all your friends go and see one of these things, and it kinda hits.
Yeah, when
Um,
was the last time you met at the green box in the neighborhood? You can't think of that specific day, so you just gotta cherish all of 'em.
yeah, that's really, really well put. I Rise and Dawn, the common complaint is always that they should have been titled the opposite of one another.
I agree with that.
Should have been Dawn and then Rise, but 2 great movies, and thank you, Matt Reeves, for doing what you did with the Planet of the Apes franchise, but that made War for the Planet of the Apes so much more disappointing, is
Oh,
that those
yeah.
2 movies were so great, and the 3rd one just cannot stick the landing. That happens over and over again where the
Mhm.
3rd one doesn't stick the landing. From what I hear, that does not happen in Return of the King, but not a Lord of the Rings guy. I haven't delved deep into Middle Earth yet, but I will at some
I
point.
don't know if it affects how the trajectory of a trilogy goes, but Lord of the Rings was shot back to back to back.
Oh,
All 3 movies.
well, yeah, maybe that is the secret sauce there because I can bring up multiple instances where the 3rd one's just not as good as the other 2, including, in the Dark Knight trilogy, where I don't think Dark Knight Rises is nearly as good as the other 2.
Mhm.
Um, The Godfather, right?
Of
Godfather
course.
Part 1 and 2 both win Oscars. Godfather Part 3 is looked at as sort of an abomination. Back to the Future, like
Oh, yeah.
1 and 2, I think are very solid. People still go, "Oh, I like 3." I get that, but no one ever references 3,
No.
ever. They don't reference 3. They reference 1 or 2, 1 or 2. I mean, always 1 or 2. 2 gets referenced way more than you think, by the way,
Mhm.
but 1 or 2 always get referenced. I can keep going. I'm not gonna do that, but unfortunately, Planet of the Apes, that trilogy fell into the same category where the 3rd one is just like, "Oh, really?" Should've been called Prisoner of War of the Planet of the Apes. That's what it should've been called. Okay, let's move on.
Moving on, number 2 on my list, just missing the cut, a movie we both love, a movie that is on the big board.
Ooh. Is it marked out yet?
It is not.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Okay, so this would have been okay. A movie you had a very impactful theatrical release for. Um, has this movie come out within the past 5 years?
No.
Okay, that helps. Let me think real quick. Bum, bum, bum. It's not Surf Ninjas. Um, I think it could be that one. We're gonna see. Okay, I'm gonna guess, with my official guess here, that it is X-Men First Class.
Tim, you are correct.
Oh
X-Men
my
First
gosh.
Class was a beloved movie for me. Same group, same squad going to see X-Men First Class during the summer. All of us loved it. And this movie inspired so many lunch table debates for years after its release. Um it's a fantastic movie. It still holds up. I still remember seeing it in the theater for the first time vividly, all the different action sequences from that movie, and just looking over at my friends and all of us being mind blown that we get an X-Men movie this good on the big screen still holds up. And also falls into your little formula of first two movies being good and third one being an absolute stinker.
Also correct.
'Cause Days of Future Past was awesome, and then Apocalypse was not good.
Awful. And I've had some people in my life defend that movie, and I don't understand it because Apocalypse sucks.
Oh
But
my gosh.
I went to go see X-Men First Class when the Dallas Mavericks were in the 2011 finals. And I was wearing my Dirk jersey, and people all of a sudden, I've been wearing my Dirk jersey. I've been wearing it for years. Nobody says anything to me. Dirk makes the finals. They start beating the Miami Heat in game 3, I think it was. No, it was game 4. I think it was game 4 where I went to go see. Give me the release date for X-Men First Class because I'll be able to figure that out really quickly. But I want to know the actual release date because when I went,
Definitely a summer
it was
release.
definitely June.
May 25th, 2011.
Really?
Mhm.
That's
That
the
is
official wide release?
that is the official USA release date I've got here on
Oh, wow.
Wikipedia. I know we all the professors say you can't use Wikipedia as a source, but
Wow.
you know.
That feels off to me. But maybe I didn't go see it opening weekend. I don't know why I wouldn't have. But anyway, when I went to go see X-Men First Class, which would have been around that time, I was wearing my Dirk jersey and people were just losing their mind, like, oh yeah, Dirk, oh he's great. But they all thought I was a bandwagon fan and I wasn't. I've been a Dallas Mavericks fan for as long as I can remember, but it was a very great movie during a very great time of my life, finally watching my team win an NBA championship. So I was very excited about that. Okay, we're now moving on to number one on your list. Where are we headed here, Tyler? For
We are
most
going
memorable Lee Branch experiences.
now. What is, in your opinion, the most memorable experience you can have at a theater? Sort of just go nothing crazy, but just going and experiencing a movie. What do you think is like the most exciting?
Okay, this is setting me up for I could go a lot of different ways to derail your entire way to go here.
You could.
So, for me, my wife and I went on our first date to the movies. So, I mean, I don't think that's the answer you're looking for,
No,
but
it's not.
that was exciting.
How about something that you can't do at the movies anymore? Something that we just don't get.
Oh, okay. Um, I hope I know where you're going here. And I'm trying to think something we just can't get or do at the movies anymore. I don't know. Is it
Something we
an
don't
illegal
so
activity?
something exciting at the movie. You know what? Never mind.
Thank you.
It's the midnight releases.
Oh,
They're so exciting, Tim. You get to see the movie before anyone, any other regular person. It's the midnight releases waiting in line. And I can't think of another franchise I've done that more for than Harry Potter. All done at the Lee Branch theaters.
yeah, man. The midnight releases, that was something like you could not get people to show up to a midnight release now for anything. I'm just going to point that out.
Oh, no, 100%.
Like you can't get people to show up at midnight
That's dead.
for anything. But like that went kind of hand in hand. We talked a lot about video games today.
Mhm.
Midnight launch parties at places that like people were camped out to get the latest Halo or to get the whatever, like the latest Call of Duty or
Well,
college.
Hunter in the chat mentioned camping out at the GameStop on 280 for the original Modern Warfare 2 back in 2009.
The hunt to secure media is pretty much dead now.
Hmm.
Like you can just get it immediately. And that's part of the joy of it, right? That's why we went on sort of a spell there for a long time with this physical media haul that we've been on, of like, it's been fun to hunt again
Oh, yeah.
for the movies and to get them and to add them to the collection and see them. And we're still on that, but I mean, we pulled back a little bit because you can't do it all at once or else you'll be underwater real quick. But because there's an infinite amount of things on my wish list and yours too.
Did you end up picking anything up from the Criterion sale? Because
No.
I ended up holding off as well.
And the reason I held off is not because I don't believe in Criterion, because you've heard me champion them a lot here.
Mhm.
In July, Barnes and Noble is going to have their 50% off sale. And my calculation was through shipping, you had to get like $75 worth of Criterion in order to get free shipping. So like once you added in shipping, it was still like 30 something bucks to get a Criterion, which if we wait for the Barnes and Noble sale, we'll be able to pick it up in person for like way less than that. So I held off because of that reason. Plus, I was very much like I either want to get 5 of them right now or none of them. Like it was either I want to get all the ones I want or none. I felt bad having to choose between my wish list. So there's that.
Mhm.
But anyway, back to your number one. Midnight movies, Harry Potter movies. So it's multiple Harry Potter movies that have made this list at number one.
I mean, for the picture, I have chosen Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 because that is the final Harry Potter movie,
Yeah.
and that sort of closed that chapter of my life, so to speak. But I mean, I had seen, I think, gosh, 4 midnight releases for Harry Potter,
Yeah.
but
Let me say, there's some great testimonials as well in the chat right now, including from Jody, who says saw American Sniper on opening night. When it ended, nobody spoke a word. It was dead silence. It was like leaving a funeral. Never experienced that before or since then. I remember that opening weekend, I went and saw it in the state of Florida, and it was the same experience of like, it was really captivating. Charles says, my ass is too old to watch a movie starting at 9 p.m. at a movie theater, much less midnight.
That makes 2 of us. I have trouble staying awake.
Jeff says saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man opening night at Lee Branch. Place was crazy. I rewatched that movie uh, 2 weeks ago, I think, and it still holds up. I still think that
It's
movie's very good.
such a good movie.
Very good. Hunter Bussey, The Force Awakens premiere at Lee Branch was a really fun time. I was at Patton Creek during that, where that was back before you could reserve seats. So you had to like have a strategy of like,
Mhm.
okay, who's going to go when they opened up the theater at 3 p.m. to hold our seats until 7 p.m. And we had a whole thing of taking shifts. Patton Creek is next.
If they don't renovate and add on, what's keeping them around right now is IMAX and anime.
It's the only place that will consistently show anime, and it's the only place that has an IMAX theater.
Mhm.
Minus the McGuane Center, which is more of a dome IMAX sort of experience, right?
Mhm.
This one's more of a traditional 2D projection sort of thing.
And really, the IMAX we have at Patton Creek,
It's trash.
it's smaller than the Vestavia Prime screen.
No,
Really?
I don't believe that.
I think it might be.
We'll have to look.
It's right about the same
You bring
size.
the tape measure. I can reach the top. You
Alright.
take the bottom measurements, and we'll figure it out. But no, I think the screen at the Patton Creek IMAX is bigger. I just think the sound system is way better at the um, AMC Prime in Vestavia. The seats are way better. The lighting, I mean, everything like is way better. Minus the fact that it's not branded IMAX. But I even wish they would update the Prime Theater.
Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
not like about Prime?
I wish they would make it like, is it a Dolby Atmos?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
wish
They've
they'd
got the Dolby and laser and all that.
upgrade one step higher than
Yeah.
where they're at, and it would be even more impressive. But I'm worried about Patton Creek. All the businesses around there seem to be
Oh, yeah.
like, you mentioned it.
I've
Baumha-
I've I've heard, that the shopping center around that theater just hasn't been renewing leases for people.
I've heard that too, but it's they got to do something to generate more foot traffic because it's
Oh, yeah.
definitely hurting the theater as like sort of the anchor there. But like you mentioned Baumhauer's at Lee Branch, right?
Uh-huh.
That was one thing that Lee Branch and Patton Creek shared is that you could go eat at Baumhauer's, walk across the street to your movie, and it was always a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
And then when Baumhauer's left those two locations, um, it kind of ruined that combo, that you'd grown so
It
accustomed
was
to.
such a good combo,
It was a
too.
great combo because you could do it all in one stop. You park once, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom.
And that it was also pre-COVID, so pre-crazy chicken wing prices.
Correct. So, like, look, let's just cut to the chase. Everything is more expensive today.
Mhm.
The time value metric that we use to decide what it is that we're going to do, what it is we're going to invest in, what it is we're going to buy, what it is we're going to watch for free and get just as much enjoyment, if not more, than going and paying huge prices to go watch something that's not very good. Like theaters, I'm amazed. Like foot traffic, it's so dependent on getting people just around the area in
Mhm.
order to get them to go see anything now. And a lot of these places are becoming more and more desolate.
Not much to do at Lee Branch.
Not much to do at Lee Branch, not much to do at Patton Creek. And those two theaters have seen the biggest amount of suffering. Now, the Summit realized there's a lot to do around here, and they benefit, I think, the most from having constant stream of foot traffic.
Mhm.
But
And being the ones that upgraded their theater.
yeah, I one thing I loved about working here where we work is that, like, I live in a place that's never been close to any theater ever, which is what made it more valuable to me when I would go to the theater and spend all day there. Like, closest theater is like 35 minutes away from where I live. So being here, I have 4 theaters, 5 theaters, within a 20-minute span
Mhm.
all around. So, I mean, I have my pick of the litter. Well, one just dropped off. The question is, when will there be the next one that drops off? And when will AMC start going like, okay, we got to really start trimming the fat here instead of continuously trying to get more and more investors to pile on money that'll save our company?
To be fair, I don't know why they decided on keeping some locations branded AMC Classics. Because that really hurts. Because why would you willingly like choose the more uncomfortable seats, less options to eat or drink or do anything?
Yeah,
Because they get a less varied selection of movies at those as well.
that is correct. branding matters. And whenever people, that's why more premium theaters, if the theater industry is going to survive, it has to invest in itself. And that's why you're seeing this huge initiative right now to building more premium formats, which we need more of here in Birmingham for sure. But like, I remember Alamo Draft House was going to come here to Birmingham.
Yeah, they were gonna move into, I believe it was an old steam plant downtown, but I assume the costs were just gonna be too high to actually see a return on because of the location they were renovating.
For some reason, that deal fell through. And unfortunately, I'm not sure there would be enough moviegoers that genuinely care to be able to make Alamo Draft House work here in Birmingham. I don't know if it would. I really don't.
I
And that's
mean,
sad.
I feel like those types of movie fans would be more likely to support Sidewalk here
Yes,
over Alamo Drafthouse.
yes, a little bit more of an artistic experience there at
Yeah.
Sidewalk. Have you been to Sidewalk yet?
I haven't. I was gonna see Seven Samurai there because they had a 4K remaster of it that didn't make its way to, like,
No.
the AMC theaters here, but, that's a 3.5-hour movie, and I looked at the chairs at Sidewalk, and I was like, "Nope, not
It
doing it."
it's nice. Sidewalk is very nice.
But if you've been spoiled with the premium recliner
Well, that's true.
and you're looking at a 3.5-hour movie.
Also true. But it's also like you've gotta navigate parking. Like, is your car gonna be out there when you get back out? Like, that's a little bit of an issue because Birmingham can be pretty tough when it comes to towing vehicles away. Hunter Bussey, you know what I'm talking about. Um,
Or
it's
just people taking them away.
or just people taking them away. It's an inconvenience. And once you get down there, it's like it's hard to get cell service too. So you feel like you're really desolate down there, which is sort of nice. Oh, I'm sorry, I was at Sidewalk. I couldn't get my phone call. But um, anyway, the theater landscape, it's going to be something we continue to cover here on the Meltdown. And now it's impacting us locally, where one of the pillars of the Rave, Carmike, AMC collective has now fallen. And the question is, will there be more dominoes that fall, or will this be a singular event? They're going to turn things around. Like, I still miss the dollar movies over there on Lorna Road. It was one of my favorite places to go. And it shuttered with COVID.
Oh, yeah. I caught, Yogi Bear, with TJ Miller over there.
We had TJ Miller
For
here
yeah.
in studio one time. We didn't have him on camera, but he was here in studio. And we should have asked him about whether or not that experience was fulfilling for him.
Yeah, I didn't get to ask any questions that day. I definitely wanted to ask why he was, mean to Yogi. He betrayed Yogi and Boo Boo and got the park closed.
That is correct. And TJ Miller's career's, suffered ever since
Yeah.
that
That
narrative decision.
that and that alone.
Yeah, that and that alone. We'll leave it at that. That's going to do it for the meltdown today. And, a little bit of a depressing episode today, but an honest one. And sometimes we need to figure out the truth. Like, we love going to the movies, but that doesn't mean everybody loves going to the movies. And when you start to look at why they don't love going to the movies, we have the same complaints. We need to fix this, and we need to fix it really quick, or else theaters are going to become really a thing of the past. And it's going to upset me very much because I absolutely love going to the theater. I want to introduce my daughter to more and more cinematic experiences, but theaters and the studios and the entire landscape has to be more welcoming to trying to rebuild their infrastructure in a way that makes sense for the consumer as well. We want to remind you about MyBookie, our title sponsor at mybookie.ag. You can bet on anything, anywhere, anytime. That's mybookie.ag. They have a current sign-up bonus, 50% deposit bonus, up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip when you use promo code next round. So make sure you do that over there at MyBookie. Plenty of things going on right now to look into at MyBookie. Tyler, thank you for a great, honest discussion today. Really appreciate that. We will have EG back in studio with us tomorrow. Lots to look forward to here on the Meltdown. Thank you to everyone in the chat that has been here with us all day long. And we will be back with you again tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern.